Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. Let's kick things off with a look at the day's headlines. Extending the Olympic truce past the Olympics. South Korea reveals that North Korea says it's willing to hold talks with the US. The White House says it will see if Pyongyang is serious about abandoning its nuclear weapons before it commits to anything. The wait is finally over. Samsung's flagship device for 2018 has landed. The Galaxy S9, a direct rival to Apple's iPhone X, is packed full of features, but is mainly focused on the camera. Some are already calling it the best phone ever. Plus, China proposes removing a two-term limit on the presidency, clearing the way for Xi Jinping to stay in power, perhaps for decades to come. Let's begin, though, with the post-Olympics diplomacy between the US and North Korea that's being mediated by South Korea. Pyongyang claims it's up for talks, but Washington insists a meeting can only happen when the North makes a solid commitment to abandon its nuclear weapons program. Lee Myung-bak starts us off.
It seems the United States and North Korea are inching toward direct talks, but only under one condition. The White House released a statement on Sunday saying the U.S. will see if North Korea's willingness for talks is a commitment to denuclearize. It added that the U.S. and the world must continue to make clear that Pyongyang's nuclear and missile programs are a dead end. However, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said Pyongyang's willingness to talk is a first step along the path to denuclearization. This comes as South Korea's presidential office released a statement earlier in the day stating that Kim Young-chul expressed North Korea's willingness to begin dialogue with the U.S. when he met with President Moon Jae-in shortly before the closing ceremony of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics. According to a spokesman for the Blue House, President Moon pointed out that the U.S.-North Korea dialogue must take place in order to improve relations between the two Koreas and to find a fundamental solution to issues on the Korean peninsula. The spokesman added the North Korean delegates agreed that inter-Korean ties and relations between the North and the U.S. should develop simultaneously. Dubbed the Peace Olympics, there's hope the PyeongChang Winter Olympics have opened doors for a more peaceful peninsula and could potentially be the catalyst that brings the U.S. and North Korea back to talks. Lee Myung-bak, Arirang News.
So, as we just heard there, a delegation of high-ranking North Koreans attended the closing ceremony of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics here in South Korea, but their presence was highly controversial. The leader of the delegation, Kim Young-chul, is suspected of having orchestrated two deadly attacks on South Korea in the past. Ji Myung-gil with more.
North Korea's 8-member high-level delegation entered South Korea on Sunday for a 3-day trip led by General Kim Young-chul. They attended the closing ceremony of the Winter Olympics. Kim is a key official in the North ruling party in charge of handling inter-Korean affairs who stirred controversy with his links to multiple attacks on South Korea. During his time as military intelligence chief, he is accused of masterminding two attacks on South Korea. The first being the sinking of the South Korean warship Cheonan in 2010, in which 46 sailors were killed, and the second, the artillery attack on Yeonpyeong Island in 2010, which killed 2 civilians and 2 Marines. His inclusion in the delegation has caused outrage in some quarters. However, Seoul's Unification Ministry said responsibility for the Cheonan incident cannot be definitively laid on Kim, despite the fact that he led the North spy agency at the time. Conservative groups, including lawmakers from the conservative Liberty Korea Party, have held protests on the southern side of the Tongyil Bridge in Paju, just south of the border and at the inter-Korean checkpoint. Still, the South Korean government has welcomed his visit amid improving inter-Korean relations and hopes for an Olympics-inspired détente. Meanwhile, the two Koreas will hold working-level talks on Tuesday to discuss the North's participation in the PyeongChang 2018 Paralympic Winter Games starting March 9th. The two sides will meet at the northern side of the inter-Korean border at Panmunjom, with Seoul sending a 3-member delegation. Lee Myung-bak, Arirang News.
Now let's turn our focus back to the closing ceremony of the Olympics. Tens of thousands of people gathered at the PyeongChang Olympic Stadium on Sunday night to bid farewell to the 2018 Winter Games. It was quite the show in terms of visuals and music, and there was a party atmosphere in the air as the hard work was done, and the athletes and all those involved in making the Games a success could finally let their hair down a bit. Won Jung-hwan reports.
17 thrilling days of sport in PyeongChang and the sub-host city of Gangneung came to an end on Sunday night, where it all started a couple weeks prior, the PyeongChang Olympic Stadium. The ceremony started with the stadium drenched in light and the crowd counting down to the start of the fun. Under the theme of a celebration of future and the spirit of adventure, there was a mixture of traditional and contemporary Korean culture on display. Among the highlights, former 21 singer CL and boy band EXO took the stage to thank the athletes for their hard work with a thundering performance. The crowd let out a huge roar when the athletes entered the stadium, but the biggest cheer was reserved for the South Korean and North Korean teams, who again entered the stadium together. Unlike the opening ceremony, this time they waved their respective national flags and wore their national uniforms, the South Koreans clad in white and the North Koreans in red. Continuing the goodwill of the Games, the North Koreans also held the Korean unification flag as they made their way around the stadium. The closing ceremony attracted more than 35,000 spectators, including President Moon Jae-in, who watched the ceremony in the VIP box with Ivanka Trump, the U.S. president's first daughter, Kim Young-chul, a vice chair of the North Korean ruling party's Central Committee, and Chinese Vice Premier Liu Yandong. The PyeongChang Games officially ended with the traditional raising of the Greek flag, lowering of the Olympic flag, and the Beijing 2022 flag handover ceremony. The Olympic flag that fluttered for over 17 days at the Olympic Stadium in PyeongChang was handed over to Chen Jining, the mayor of Beijing, for the next Winter Games in 4 years' time. The Olympic flame was also extinguished, but this isn't the end. The PyeongChang Winter Paralympic Games will start on March 9th and run for 10 days. Won Jung-hwan, Arirang News.
So, from North Korea's participation to the extremely cold weather conditions the athletes had to endure. Amid the various issues and concerns that arose before and during the PyeongChang Winter Olympics, the 17-day-long sporting event concluded, as we heard, on Sunday, and the overwhelming majority of visitors and spectators say the event was a great success. Lee Ji-won takes a look back at the highs and also the lows of the Games.
From tears of joy, sighs of disappointment to exhilarating excitement, the past 17 days of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics were packed with incident and raw emotions. Now that the event is over, many are looking back at their February in South Korea's alpine town of PyeongChang and the sub-host city of Gangneung. Many commented on how it was a huge success.
I've been to 16 Olympics now, winter and summer. I thought this was one of the best ones I've ever been to in terms of organization, in terms of logistics, in terms of just the quality of the infrastructure. You want it to be as easy as possible to move around and to enjoy the Games.
The friendliness of the locals and volunteers was also praised.
We've been really impressed by how nice actually all the locals have been to us and how especially patient, because we don't speak any Korean, and even with a very wide language barrier, everyone's been really accommodating.
Of the many highlights was North Korea's participation in the Games. While the decision and process was initially controversial, people say these exchanges prove the Olympics is more than just a sporting event.
Not just bold, but I think it sent a message to the world. And there's really only one place that could do that, and that is here in South Korea and here in PyeongChang. And a lot of people say, oh, but that's, politics hijacking the Games. No, actually, this is not a story about politics. This is a story about people.
The bone-chilling temperatures during the Games was a major concern, and it caused a number of snow events to be postponed. But journalists who've covered numerous Winter Olympics say cold is not a problem for winter sports.
Olympics are so big, there are always going to be issues, and those certainly were issues. In terms of the weather, yeah, it was very cold the first week, but in a way, this is the Winter Olympics. They're supposed to be cold.
Visitors also suggested room for improvements.
I think that they should have taught English to most of the workforce, because sometimes, well, I don't speak Korean, and as a foreigner, it was hard for me to get the information.
It wasn't that expensive to book a place to stay, but I came here to watch numerous events on different days, and there weren't many vacancies.
With a general consensus that the PyeongChang Olympics were a success, many visitors said one of the best legacies of the Games is that South Korea took a step forward in presenting itself to the world, and the world got to know Korea better as well. 이지원, Arirang News, PyeongChang.
Now, in other news, Samsung Electronics has given the world its first glimpse of the Korean tech giant's latest smartphone offering, the Galaxy S9. The new model puts emphasis on visual applications for social media, hoping to attract all those tech-savvy young consumers out there. Our Park So-yeon reports.
A new chapter for smartphones is about to begin. Unveiling the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona on Sunday, Samsung's highly anticipated new models have taken smartphone cameras to new levels by adopting top-notch technologies. The Korean tech giant says the device will bring users optimized experiences, allowing them to share messages and emotions visually. It's also a significant improvement from previous models. The Galaxy S9 is focused on the camera, boasting improved picture quality in low light, a super slow-motion video mode, and a new feature called AR emoji. The screens are brighter and slightly bigger than Galaxy S8. Galaxy S9 is 5.9 inches and Galaxy S9 Plus is 6.2 inches and will be released in black, gray, blue, and purple. Samsung says the camera is its best yet, with a new feature that takes clear pictures even in very low light by taking 12 photos at once and stitching them together to form a crisp image.
At Samsung, we believe it's time for a new kind of phone, not just a great smartphone that takes good pictures. A breakthrough camera that sees the world clearly in any light. Build around an amazing smartphone.
A new feature includes a super slow-motion camera setting that lets users take videos 32 times slower than a traditional video. Samsung also launched a new feature called AR emoji, which allows users to take a selfie and turn it into a custom emoji. These are animated cartoons created from facial scans of users that mimic their expressions, and users can customize features like hair and clothing.
And the most important function of a phone is not making calls. It's to capture the fleeting moments that express what you want to say in an instant. By taking photos and selfies, sending emojis, and sharing videos.
The new Galaxy also has a useful live language translation feature in 54 languages that scans objects such as signs and menus. With the release of the Galaxy S9, Samsung has added fuel to its ongoing battle with Apple for who makes the best smartphones. The Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus will hit the shelves around the world, starting March 16th, with South Korea accepting pre-orders from February 28th and pre-orders set to be released on March 9th. Park So-yeon, Arirang News.
Prosecutors called in former President Lee Myung-bak's son, Lee Si-hyung, on Sunday to question him in connection with slush fund allegations and suspicious trade involving an auto parts company he owns. Prosecutors suspect his father, the former president, abused his presidential power to help the company called Das recoup investments and create slush funds under dozens of fake names to evade taxes and also embezzle money. Investigators are also looking into who actually owns Das, with more and more people suspecting the owner is Lee Myung-bak, the former president himself, not his son or his brother. Watchers say with the investigation zeroing in on the former president's family members, Lee Myung-bak could soon be called in for questioning himself. Now, for a look at stories making headlines around the world, and we are going to start this morning in China. The ruling Communist Party is working to make President Xi Jinping ruler of China perhaps indefinitely by altering its constitution. For more on this and other international news, let's turn, as we always do, to our No Aram. So, Aram, yet another move by the Chinese government to solidify Xi Jinping's grip on power.
That's right, Mark. The Communist Party on Sunday proposed removing a constitutional clause that limits presidential services to just 2 5-year terms that would lay the groundwork for President Xi to continue his rule beyond the year 2023. The proposal, which also covers the vice president position, will likely be approved by China's rubber-stamp parliament at an annual meeting beginning next Monday, where Xi is set to be appointed to his second term. There had been other moves by the Chinese leader to cement his grip on power. During the party Congress last year, Xi secured his status as China's most powerful leader since the late Mao Zedong, the founder of the People's Republic. That meeting ended without the appointment of a clear successor, pointing to Xi's longer-term ambitions. Also, since taking office 5 years ago, Xi has overseen a radical shake-up of the Communist Party as part of his crackdown on corruption. That led to some top leaders, once thought untouchable, to be removed. An extended reign of power will enable Xi to see out his ambitious political visions, including his One Belt, One Road initiative to build new global trade routes. At least half a dozen people are reported to have been killed in airstrikes on Syria's eastern Ghouta. They came just hours after a UN resolution calling for a 30-day ceasefire in the rebel-held enclave to allow access for humanitarian aid. During phone talks on Sunday, the leaders of France and Germany urged Russia, Syria's ally, to pressure the Assad regime to immediately enforce the UN ceasefire. The Kremlin said President Putin reacted positively and agreed to speed up their, quote, exchange of information on Syria. Pope Francis also weighed in, calling for an immediate halt to what he called inhuman violence. A number of earthquakes hit several locations around the world early Monday, with the strongest hitting Papua New Guinea. The US Geological Survey says the 7.5 magnitude tremor struck 89 kilometers southwest of Porgera at a depth of 35 kilometers. It wasn't immediately clear if there was damage, and there was no tsunami threat. In Taiwan, the China Earthquake Network Center says a 5.0 magnitude quake hit waters about 34 kilometers off Yilan County. It struck at a depth of 17 kilometers and no immediate tsunami warning was issued. Meanwhile, in Japan, a 5.7 magnitude tremor struck about 64 kilometers off the coast of Fukushima. It also did not pose a tsunami threat.
Noryangjin Fish Market is one of Korea's largest seafood markets, open 24/7, 365 days a year. Let's zoom in on a day at a fish market, the earliest start of a workday in Korea. Noryangjin Fish Market is located in Dongjak-gu, Seoul. This place comes to life just after midnight with trucks filled with seafood coming directly from the sea. A whopping 300 tons of marine products are traded here every day, which is about 50% of metropolitan volumes of seafood.
I'm from Tongyang. Sales are bad, so I only brought yellowtail that is in season currently.
This is the auction house. All the marine products here are distributed to local markets and restaurants through the auction process. The early morning auction starts at 1 o'clock with 4 sub-auctions for the different types of seafood. The dealer is calling out for wholesale merchants. Apparently, spoken words aren't very important here. It's numbers that matter.
Rather than just announcing prices, I shout and make noises during the auction to add amusement and create a rhythm. This is to stimulate the highest bids possible.
There are 11 auction dealers and some 200 commissioned merchants in the market. Interestingly enough, all the participants are wearing hats.
The main auctioneers wore black hats, with lead patrons and assistant salespeople wore blue hats. The assistant salespeople have the right to make purchases on behalf of middlemen. Only these certified agents can participate in the auctions.
The highlight of the night starts at 3 a.m. with live fish auction. The atmosphere is getting more intense with wholesale merchants trying to buy the best live fish at the lowest price. The more the bidding, the more vibrant it gets. All the auctions for the day ended around 6 a.m., just before dawn. The dealers and commission merchants can finally relax.
The supplies are limited due to the cold weather, but it's not too bad.
Transactions take place immediately on site, and the retail dealers are getting ready for customers.
Our work schedule is the opposite of ordinary people. We work from 11:30 p.m. to 9 a.m., and the executives work till 11 a.m.
The market is composed of nearly 1,200 shops with an abundant amount of marine products, including live and fresh fish, shellfish, and deep-sea produce. Established in 1927 near Seoul Station, it moved to its current home at Noryangjin in 1971. Over 2,000 people make a living here. The face of the market has changed over time, but the bustling of diligent workers remains the same.
I've been working at the market for 33 years to educate my children and help them settle in life.
The harder I work, the more I earn. I enjoy it because I can earn quite a lot.
The market draws numerous customers throughout the year. An average of 30,000 people visit daily with sales of over $900,000.
Here, I can select any delicacy directly out of the aquarium and at reasonable prices. The product is fresh and the portions are generous.
The market offers very fresh seafood, probably the freshest in Seoul.
This place is also a popular tourist spot.
We have many visitors from Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Vietnam.
Customers choose live seafood from tanks, and sea vendors slice up the fish. Prices vary by type of fish or seafood, season, and by weight, but it's still 20 to 30% cheaper than general restaurants.
In Japan, fish markets aren't very accessible to the general public. However, this market is open to everyone and customers can pick what they want to eat.
The market is facilitated with restaurants where customers can go to eat the fresh seafood any way they prefer. Offering a wide range of fresh seafood, this place is considered a must for foreign visitors who want to experience unique Korean food culture.
Which you want, like you can try in testing. You buy here in the first floor, come back to the restaurant. They make for you very good sushi like this.
Since Mongolia is a landlocked country, fresh fish and seafood are rare. I'm really enjoying the raw fish. I want to bring all my Mongolian friends to the market so they can taste it.
Noryangjin Fish Market has been a part of Korean culture for many years. The hard work and diligence ensure that the legacy of the market continues as the rest of the country is asleep.
Good morning. We'll have a chillier morning than Sunday, but afternoon highs will rise rapidly and it will get up to nearly 10 degrees Celsius here in the capital, hovering way above the seasonal averages. And for a closer look, the high in Seoul will get up to 9 degrees Celsius, while Daegu and Gwangju will see highs rising nearly 15 degrees higher than morning lows at 13 and 14 degrees respectively. And it's going to be a sunny day for most of the day and we'll have normal air quality. But we'll notice brief drop in temperatures on Independence Movement Day on March 1st, so please keep that in mind. With that, let's take a look at the international weather for viewers around the world. While most parts of South Korea will see spring-like conditions in the afternoon under mostly sunny skies, most parts in North Korea will see cooler conditions along with snowfall. And as for the rest of Asia, Tokyo will have similar weather conditions to Seoul, while Beijing will be milder at 12 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, mornings and evenings got much more bearable in Melbourne, but highs will stay quite warm and expect to have hotter conditions on Tuesday. Heading to North America, a cocktail of snow, rain, and freezing rain hit parts of Montreal on Sunday, but weather conditions will improve on Monday. And as for South America, Rio de Janeiro had fatal flash floods about 10 days ago, but concerns are on the rise as more rain is in the forecast through this week. And taking you to Europe, the blast of cold weather that has hit Moscow is expected to intensify throughout the week, and the capital could wake up to snowy roads on Monday. And lastly, to Africa, major cities on the map will be under plenty of sunshine. And that's all the weather update for now.
Well, that's where we're going to leave our news for now as well on this Monday morning here in Seoul. Our next bulletin is coming up at noon Korea times. Until then, goodbye.
Don't hold back. Conquer challenges. Draw a brighter world. The next Korea Generation Y.